The Otago gold rushes were the third major sequence of rushes around the Pacific Rim in a dozen years. In both the previous rushes, California in 1848 and Victoria in 1851, crime and lawlessness had been a notorious feature of the early days at each respective goldfield. The Otago authorities were rightly afraid that a wave of vagabonds would likely descend on southern New Zealand and pitch the colony into an era of murder and mayhem. But to be forewarned was to be forearmed. Within weeks of Gabriel Reed's discovery at Tuapeka in 1861, the Otago Provincial Superintendent, Major John Richardson, appealed to the governor for help with security. A detachment of the Imperial troops then serving in New Zealand, men from the 70th East Surrey Regiment of Foot, were promptly dispatched to Dunedin. But infantry soldiers were not really what was required, and the men spent most of their time in Dunedin building roads, socialising and camping out in temporary barracks erected here on the future site of Arthur Street School. Meanwhile, the Otago authorities had decided to establish their own goldfield security by headhunting veterans of the highly regarded Victorian Police. This force, modelled on the Royal Irish Constabulary and the London Metropolitan Police, was a quasi-military formation that had proven highly effective on the Victorian goldfields. Led by the redoubtable Irish soldier Inspector St John Brannigan, the first party reached Dunedin in August 1861. They were mainly composed of big, brawny Irishmen, hand-picked and experienced. Kitted out in smart uniforms, the highly disciplined troopers made an imposing sight as they rode across the Otago landscape. At their head, Brannigan was a man who brooked no opposition, no disrespect. The Gold Escort's entry into Dunedin was repeatedly disrupted, with its horses shying at the aggressive barking of a small dog, so Brannigan joined the procession himself. On the approach of the yappy dog, he drew his sword, lopped off his head and rode on imperiously as the dog's now decapitated corpse ran on into a fence. The gold escorts were a key vehicle for ensuring the safe transport of gold from the diggings to Dunedin. The regular weekly service inspired confidence in prospectors, sure that their valuable returns would safely await them in the gold office here in central Dunedin. It also provided an exciting spectacle for Dunedin residents as the heavily loaded wagon rolled into town each week, flanked by well-armed troopers, splendid-looking figures astride their horses. With accompanying police patrols in towns and across country, close surveillance of the ports, and the regular exchange of intelligence with Australian police, Brannigan's men quickly earned a peerless reputation as one of the best police forces in the world, and they ensured that Otago's goldfields were among the most orderly and crime-free too. After winning renown in Otago, Commissioner Brannigan was appointed to lead a nationwide police force and moved north in 1869. But things soon went awry for him as his public behaviour deteriorated under the strain of office. The incident with the dog may have been an early clue to the mental illness which overwhelmed him in 1871. When his odd behaviour became public, and after viciously attacking several people, Brannigan was confined to the Auckland Lunatic Asylum. He spent the next couple of years in secure care at the Dunedin Asylum in Arthur Street on the site now occupied by Otago Boys High School. He died there in September 1873, aged just 49. But this rather ignominious end did not diminish the public esteem with which he was remembered in Otago. This memorial in Dunedin Southern Cemetery marks his final resting place. It was erected by members of the Otago Constabulary Force that had led with such distinction.